The Los Angeles Lakers may still be interested in a potential Andrew Wiggins trade. Marc Stein, the NBA insider, reported that the Lakers could have interest in the two-way wing playing in Miami if the Heat are interested in dealing him. And this is an important report by Marc Stein because if you just take it back a couple months to the end of June when the NBA draft took place, there was a ton of buzz and rumors being reported by Anthony Irwin, Jovan Buha, on the Lakers' perspective that they could see an Andrew Wiggins trade occur, and he was one of the top targets for the Lakers because of what that roster needs the most. So for Stein to say that it's still a target for Los Angeles tells me this is something that could still be on the horizon, and we're going to get into everything on Andrew Wiggins right now. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. Appreciate everybody spending time with us here on this Tuesday afternoon. But when we talk about Andrew Wiggins, the player that we have mentioned consistently in terms of being a trade candidate for the Miami Heat. And the Lakers have always made the most sense, in my opinion. Well, let's kick it over to what Marc Stein had to say on Andrew Wiggins, saying that he will earn $28.2 million this season, holds a $30 million player option the following year, and he has classified him as a potential trade target for the Lakers. Now, they said it didn't make sense before Doncic signed that extension, but with Doncic secured long-term, things are a little bit different now. Stein says that his sense is the Lakers would have interest in Wiggins if the Heat decide to prioritize financial flexibility and reduce their payroll by trading Andrew Wiggins. And I'll put myself in the Lakers' shoes and think about what they're looking at right now because Andrew Wiggins makes a ton of sense. That roster lacks a true 3-and-D wing that can connect their front court to their back court. Doncic and Reeves is a very fun offensive backcourt, but they aren't the best defensive pieces. LeBron, at his age, is not the same defensive player he has been in his career. And then you have DeAndre Ayton at center, who isn't known for being that good defensively. A lot of good offensive pieces, but what they're lacking is a solid connecting wing that can do some things offensively, but primarily be one of their leading defensive guys. And I don't think they trust Jared Vanderbilt because he can't space the floor, and Rui Hachimura has been on the outs for them as well. Plus, Wiggins is a better player. So it does make sense for the Lakers to target Wiggins, especially since they have the contracts to easily match the $28 million Wiggins is making this year. And before we look more at a potential trade, share this video to a Lakers fan, a friend, a family member. Help us out. Share today's video. Spread the word of the Heat Report. And I know a lot of Lakers fans are going to be interested in this video. So share it to them if you know them. Well, let's take it back a little bit here and rehash if the Heat should even think about trading Andrew Wiggins, because this is the headlining player that they got in return in the Jimmy Butler trade last February. Obviously, they got the first-round pick as well, which turned into Kasparas Giacochonis, but Wiggins was the best player in that deal. And when Andrew Wiggins was on the floor for the Heat, he was very good. He played in 17 regular season games, 4 playoff games, and when you think about Wiggins' half-a-year tenure with Miami, when he played in the regular season, it was awesome. The issue is he played in 17 games of a possible 33. So he missed almost half of the games possible in February, in March, and April before the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, he was absolutely abysmal. So the point I'm trying to make here is that Wiggins was solid in his role for Miami in the regular season. The Heat aren't just going to give Andrew Wiggins away. It's not like they're begging teams to take Wiggins off their hands like they are doing with Terry Rozier. No, if you want to trade for Andrew Wiggins, it is going to cost you legitimate assets, whether it is a solid player/contract or NBA draft capital. And I want to re-emphasize that the Heat aren't giving him away for free. If you remember, in mid-August, Greg Sylvander of 5 Reasons Sports Network reported that the Heat have really liked what they've seen from Andrew Wiggins this summer. They're impressed with how much time he is spending at the facilities. They think he's had a great summer in Miami, trying to remain healthy and bounce back and have a pivotal role for the Heat this upcoming year. And if we're going to be honest, based off where the Heat's roster sits right now, you do anticipate and project Andrew Wiggins to have a large role for Miami this season. He is their starting three, and no matter which way you want to slice it, he's going to be in that starting lineup. Even if the Heat do want to move Bam back to center, bench Kel'el Ware, and create a more well-balanced big man rotation, Nikola Jovic would start in Ware's place, and Wiggins would still remain a starter. And last year, you could see that maybe the fit wasn't that well with the Heat because he was asked to be the third option offensively, heck, even at times the second option offensively, when Adebayo was having those annoying games where he wasn't aggressive on the offensive end. But now, he is that fourth option offensively in an ideal world. Obviously, Hero's your one. I would label Norman Powell as your two. And then if Bam is your third option on the offensive end, that makes Wiggins more suited to play that fourth man role where he can knock down some shots off the catch, make pivotal cuts, work off ball, leverage that shot into a drive to the rim, and then be a legit lead wing defender as well. Wiggins, I think, is in line for a big season if he remains with Miami because he just simply fits this roster so much better right now. So, pinned comment on today's show, would you trade Andrew Wiggins? With everything I've said about how much he fits the roster better now, would you trade Andrew Wiggins? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I think I would still trade Andrew Wiggins, but I want to make it abundantly clear it would have to be for the right price. I am not giving him away like the Heat aren't going to give him away. But if the Lakers come in with a really strong offer for Andrew Wiggins, it would be hard for me to say no. And a lot of the reasons why I will say that is because of Andrew Wiggins' contract. He's got one guaranteed year left on his deal at $28.2 million. And as Marc Stein pointed out a little bit earlier in the episode, he's got a $30.1 million player option before becoming an unrestricted free agent in 2027. So the point is, if you move off of Andrew Wiggins and get expiring contracts in return alongside potential draft capital, having that $28 million come off the books for next year's summer would be very, very valuable. So with that being said, what would a potential trade look like? Well, this is my trade idea to where if the Lakers came in with this offer, I would probably accept or really have to think about it. That offer being Rui Hachimura, Maxi Kleber, and an unprotected first-round pick in 2031. And to make it a little bit more valuable for Miami, they add Keshad Johnson to the deal. Why do they do that? I'll talk about that more in just a second. But why I would think about doing this trade? The number one reason is that unprotected first-round pick in 2031. It's really the only pick the Lakers have to offer. They could technically send you 2032 as well. Either way, it's either 2031 or 2032. I would need that to be unprotected. And I think that pick could be very valuable. Why do I say that? Well, LeBron will certainly be retired by then unless he somehow gets bionic replacements in his body by then. And also, there is a world that we live in that Luka Doncic is no longer with the Lakers around that time. Yes, he signed an extension, but that extension runs through what? 2028, 29? And then he could either cash in with another major contract around 29, 2030, or he could hit free agency, request a trade, and be somewhere else. And in that case, the Lakers may be a very bad team. So having an unprotected Lakers pick in 2031 or 2032 could be pretty valuable for yourself, or it could be a valuable piece in another trade that you make that maybe nets you a superstar that asks out over the next 3 to 4 years. The point is, adding draft capital would be super, super valuable for this Heat team and organization if they want to make this team and roster a NBA championship contender sooner rather than later. And if an Andrew Wiggins trade happens, we will be going live and having you covered on the channel as we do anytime the Heat make a trade. So subscribe to the Heat Report today, join the family, and we'll update you on everything you need to know. The second reason why I would do this trade if I was Miami is the future financial flexibility. And I hinted at it just a bit ago, but having $28 million in expiring contracts off the books, in addition to all the other expirings you have, would be very, very nice. And here is the truth. If you made this trade and got Rui Hachimura's deal, which is, by the way, $18 million in expiring money, and added Maxi Kleber, which is an $11 million expiring contract, you would then have $84.5 million in expiring contracts this upcoming summer. Hachimura, Kleber, Rozier, Norman Powell, Fontecchio, all 5 of those contracts expiring, adding up to $84.5 million, which would allow you to potentially go after a top free agent in 2026 if one becomes available or a player opts out of their deal. Or it would just give you enough flexibility to take in more money in a trade, which would allow you to be a facilitator in a lot of trades next summer, whether it is you getting a big-time player in return, where you could take more salary back than you're sending out, or just be what the Brooklyn Nets were this past summer, to where they were the third team in almost every deal, getting a lot of second-round picks, getting a first-round pick because they're taking on bad contracts. That is something I would be interested in if you're the Heat, because if you're not going to contend next year and add a big-time all-star, all-NBA level guy, well, then take in bad contracts and also get a lot of draft picks to help you in the future as well. That's something that would benefit Miami, and having the cap space that you would with all those expirings would allow you to do that. More coming up here in my final reason in a second, but take advantage of these shirts and items being on sale. When you go to chatsports.com/Heat shirts, there's so many different types of shirts you can get, whether it is throwbacks, whether it's cool designs like these, whether it's gear that the players are going to wear this year, like a long sleeve warm-up or the short sleeve practice team. Some are on sale, some are full price. The point is, order yours today to get them before the season starts in a month and a half. Chatsports.com/Heat shirts is the link. It's in the description and comments of today's video. The third reason why I do this trade is making that exact deal that we showed on screen gives you the flexibility to sign a center right now. When you combine Andrew Wiggins' contract, you combine Keshad Johnson's contract, and send it out for Kleber's and Rui Hachimura, you actually save $919,000. Why is that a significant amount of money? Well, the Heat currently have $1.6 million in space underneath the luxury tax. You add $919,000 to that, that gets them to, quick math, about $2.5 million away from the luxury tax. Well, because of how the NBA salary cap and the CBA work, signing a vet min free agent, even though the money might be coming in at $3 million, $3.3 million, the cap hit is not that full amount. So, the cap hit, if you were to sign a Precious Achiuwa or a Kai Jones, would actually come in at about $2.3 million. That would be $200,000 less than what the Heat have, which means you could stay underneath the luxury tax by making that deal and signing one of these two guys, which would be very, very nice for the Heat to do because they desperately need another big in rotation. And you could argue Hachimura and Kleber can work in rotation as small ball centers or fours. They've certainly done it in the past in their own respect. But they could either go out and sign a Kai Jones, who they had in for a workout, a Precious Achiuwa, who they've remained in contact with. Both players had fine years in their limited roles for their respective teams. I mean, Kai Jones was phenomenal for the Mavericks in his final 12 games of the season, averaging 11 points and 6 boards a night. But it sounds like if the Heat did create enough space, it would be Precious Achiuwa, because based on the reporting that I saw from Barry Jackson yesterday, he reported that the Heat have not made an offer to Achiuwa to this point, but have expressed that they will make one to him if he is still a free agent if the Heat have enough room underneath the luxury tax to sign him. And it sounded like Achua was interested in rejoining the Miami Heat as well. So if the Heat create the cap space necessary, which would happen in this trade idea I threw out, it sounds like Achua would be joining the Miami Heat. Now, I will say this. I do not think a trade with the Lakers on Andrew Wiggins is very likely whatsoever. Why do I say that? Well, it's perfectly encapsulated by my guy, Chef Trilly, with this tweet yesterday, saying that this Heat offseason has already featured Andrew Wiggins trade rumors. If the Heat liked what the Lakers were offering for Wiggins, especially around that time of June, they probably would have accepted the deal by now. So I agree with Austin. It's hard for me to see a trade actually coming to the forefront. Unless the Lakers really just view Andrew Wiggins as a must-add at this point, then I don't see it happening. Because the Lakers would have to come in with an over-the-top offer, like what I showcased, first-round pick, and maybe some Dalton Connect as well. But, I mean, Connect's value is kind of in the gutter, if we're going to be honest, with how bad he played at the Summer League. So I just don't know if the Heat like what the Lakers can offer. Now, if that trade that we showed on screen was on the table, I would seriously contemplate it if I was the Miami Heat. And as I mentioned, if any trade happens with Miami, we will have you covered. So hit that sub button right now and join us for Daily Heat content.